This week is episode 4 of a series all about things we do or we can do in our language learning class using paper. I'm going to talk about 3 or 4, actually, I think 4 activities just using simple index cards. So basically, I'm not going to get into flashcards, though I think they're helpful and I think they're a good activity. Um, I want to talk a little bit beyond flashcards. So basically, having students make flashcards, but having them do them in a uniform way, um, will help create these other activities, in a very interactive activity. So you have a set of flashcards, but it's important that either they're the same color or they're the same size or whatever, because then they're really hard to deal with if you don't have the same color or the same size. So basically, if you have students make a set of flashcards on whatever that they need to, you can put them together and then you have pairs, right? And then you can shuffle them up and you can play Go Fish. It can become really interactive, right? So they there's different rules for playing Go Fish. I find out all the time. People sometimes it's the first one with all their cards down is the winner. Other times it's the person with the most at the end. Everyone keeps playing, but basically you distribute, everyone gets 6 cards or 5 cards. Again, that varies. I hear that different versions of that as well. And you look for pairs and then you teach them the target language structures. Do you have Yes, I do. Here you are. You can do object pronouns in there. You can do commands in there. Do you have, whatever it is? Yes, I have it or them. Please give them to me, etc. Right? You can get really advanced with your structures in here with Go Fish. That same set of cards that you have, you can use to play a game, and it's really simple. How do you say? And this will be more than just pairs, right? You might want them even, for this little game, they would write maybe the target language and the word on in the in your native language on the other side, or you might do a picture on one side and the target language, and you get them all mixed up. You say, oh, how do you say? And then if you have it, you put it down, and then that's a pair. That's another way to play that game. Of course, if it's one-sided, if you've had them do them on one side and you've got pairs, you have memory or concentration, right? That's an interesting one. That's a fun way to interact with vocabulary. Um, Another really fun one with these index cards is to have students make pictures of your vocabulary on the cards. And again, you're going to want to do this in kind of a uniform way, with no, you don't want any native language on there. And then what you do after they've done that, everybody turns those cards into you, and now we all sit in a circle and you start passing it around. So you don't want, in fact, it's best with just pictures, no words, but there are ways you can use this with words if it's on the other side and you can't look for like quick, if you're not sure, student wants an answer, they can look on the other side. Of course, they don't get a point, but basically you distribute the cards and you play target language music, and then when it stops, what do you have? What is it? Right? It becomes an interactive conversation, right? They talk about the words, the vocab that they have. Kind of like musical chairs almost, but you're passing objects, and we'll treat them as objects, but they're really drawings. That might have been 4 activities I talked about, but I want to talk about one more. So I think this works well for things that are hard, and you can use the cards that the students made to do this, or it's a really quick prep activity. So, um, something difficult, right? So maybe you have a set of, let's say verbs or something like that. Give a certain number that they have to make, and they have to do target language on one side and then your native language on the other side, and everybody turns them in to you and you shuffle them up and you divide up the room. You can even take kids flashcards that are already done to describe this. So you then you pick a number, and it should really be based on sort of the geography of your room or how many turns or how much time you have. And you have the students in that group, they pick an order of who, of how they're going to go, who's going to go first, second, etc. And you ask, x number of questions. So it could be 2, 3, 10, 9, 5, 7, doesn't matter, right? You don't want it to be too many, but you go through and you take the cards and you ask questions and they have to answer. So for example, if I had a verb and I said it in the target language, they would have to say it in their native language. Or if I had like a verb and a subject, maybe that's one configuration you have. They would have to say the right conjugation, and you just put the cards down. And then at the end, you count points, right? You just keep taking turns. And one way to modify this, if you've got something really hard that you want to teach, just to make it more doable for students after they've seen it and interacted with it, after every couple of rounds, you give them a minute to study, and then go back to that page that they originally got their content from. You originally got that content from, and they can review it. The next activity I want to talk about are instant quizzes. So a couple of ways to make quizzes. Do it interactively. So just with paper. So hand recycling paper out even to different groups of students, and they have to write 10 quiz questions. And really, I mean, the benefits really not from them knowing what you're going to make the quiz out of, but they're studying, they're getting that interaction with the vocabulary or the structures or whatever. They're taking a deep look. And let's say you have 4 groups and everyone has contributed 5 questions. Obviously you're going to edit them and you're going to vet these questions, but then you make a quiz based on what they came up with. They can also make quizzes for each other, and you just give them whatever your parameters are. You have to have, X number of questions. They have to be fair. They have to be found within the text. And again, the real value here is in their studying and their thinking deeply about whatever it is that you want them to learn. So next week we're going to talk all about paper and sort of more difficult activities. Until next time.